Sometimes the Beach Boys turned on each other, and almost none of it happened while the hits were playing. You know the harmonies. Sun, cars, girls, that stacked wall of voices nobody has ever really duplicated. But after Good Vibrations hit #1 in December of 1966, this band went more than 20 years without another one. And in those 20 years, and the 40 after them, they did things to each other that most bands don't survive.
Girls we knew when their hair was soft and long and the beat.
Songs taken, credits stripped, lawsuits between cousins, a name that became a weapon. 10. The Father Who Sold the Catalog. November 1969. The band is broke, the Capitol royalties are gone, and Murray Wilson picks up the phone. You know the songs: Surfin' Safari, California Girls, God Only Knows. Every one of them was owned by a company called Sea of Tunes. Murray sold it to Irving Almo Music for $700,000. Over the band's objections, without their knowledge or consent. Here's the thing about that number. It sounds like a lot in 1969. It isn't. That catalog would go on to generate more than $100 million in publishing royalties, none of which Murray or the band ever saw. By 1994, it was valued at $40 million. And Brian's own words about it are the most brutal summary anyone's ever written of a father. He said Murray believed they were washed up, took the only thing they knew would last, and sold it off like a garage sale. But here's where it stops being just a sad story and becomes something uglier. Decades later, it came out that Abe Summer, the Beach Boys' own lawyer, was also Irving Music's lawyer and hid it. Mike Love wrote that the whole thing was orchestrated over 2 years. The band didn't just get robbed, they got robbed by their own counsel while their own father held the pen. And if you've ever had money handled by family, that specific arrangement where nobody signs anything because we're family, you already know how this ends. It ends with a phone call you weren't on. Marilyn Wilson said the sale devastated Brian. He was 27. Every song he'd ever written now belonged to somebody he'd never met. Nine, Brian is Back, 1976. There's a slogan on a jumbotron and a man on stage who doesn't want to be there. 15 Big Ones was the first Beach Boys album with production credited solely to Brian Wilson since Pet Sounds. And the release came with a media campaign announcing his comeback. Rolling Stone cover. TV special. The cover line read, "The Healing of Brother Brian." Now on paper, that's a band lifting up a brother.
Never think you doubt it. I'll make you so.
That's beautiful. Except, the Beach Boys helped cover Eugene Landy's enormous fees, with the understanding that he'd get Brian back in the studio. Read that again. The therapy had a deliverable. An engineer at Brother Studios said 15 Big Ones was less Brian's attempt to relight the flame than everyone else's attempt to relight it, and remembered Brian walking in looking like a scared rabbit. And in 1976, in an interview, Brian said he felt like a prisoner and didn't know when it would end. That's the year they put his face on a magazine cover. Then comes the part that still stops me cold. When Landy wanted more money, Carl Wilson reportedly gave away some of Brian's publishing royalties to pay him, his own brother, signing away his songs, to keep the man who was controlling him on the payroll. I don't think Carl was cruel. I think Carl was terrified and out of options and doing the only math he could see. That's the thing about this band. Almost nobody in it is a villain. They're just people making the least bad choice available at 11 o'clock at night. Brian played 2 shows on the East Coast, then went home and wasn't present for the rest of the tour. The slogan kept running.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of 1 coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
8. The solo album they couldn't forgive. August 1977. The middle Wilson brother, the drummer, the only one who actually surfed, releases a record nobody expected. Pacific Ocean Blue was Dennis Wilson's only solo studio album, and when it came out, it was warmly received and noted for outselling what the Beach Boys were putting out at the time. If you've heard it, you know that voice is wrecked, gravel and smoke, and it's one of the most beautiful things anybody in that family ever made. If you found it late, if somebody put it on and you sat there going, "This is a Beach Boy," you remember exactly where you were sitting. Here's what happened next. He was banned from doing a solo tour to support it, under threat of being kicked out of the Beach Boys. And when he tried to mount a symphonic show, strings, bass flutes, 18 or 20 pieces, the whole thing, they wouldn't give him the budget. He had the best reviews of his life and no way to play them for anybody, so he went back in for a follow-up. It was called Bamboo. The sessions disintegrated before he died. It was scuttled by lack of financing and the distractions of Beach Boys projects. 31 years. That's how long that music sat in a vault. It finally came out in 2008 as part of a reissue that Rolling Stone, Mojo, and Uncut all named Best Reissue of the Year. He'd been dead for 25 years when the world agreed he was right. And that's a specific kind of cruelty, not being ignored, but being contained. Being told you can make the thing, you just can't take it anywhere. Being managed by people who share your last name. He never made another album. December 28th, 1983. By the early 80s, 2 Beach Boys can't legally be in the same room. Mike Love and Dennis Wilson had taken out restraining orders on each other. You want to know how it got there? Because this is the part biopics won't touch. Dennis married Shawn Love in July of 1983. She was 19, she was Mike Love's daughter. And it capped off a long, antagonistic history between 2 first cousins that included Mike accusing Dennis of sleeping with his second wife. This isn't a band anymore. This is a family court docket that happens to sell out arenas. Then comes the ultimatum. After a concert in November of 1983, the band told Dennis, "Check into rehab or you're banned from performing live with us." And look, I want to be careful here because that one might have been the right call. What else do you do? You've watched him disappear for a decade. His brothers Brian and Carl were part of that ultimatum too. Sometimes the loving thing and the cruel thing are the exact same sentence. He did a couple of short stints in treatment. On December 25th, he checked himself out and started drinking immediately. 3 days later, he drowned at Marina del Rey, diving for possessions he'd thrown overboard years before, right next to the slip where his boat, the Harmony, had been moored before it was repossessed. He was 39. He'd spent his last months diving for things he'd thrown away himself. I don't know a better description of what that decade did to that family. Number 6. 6. The number one without him. 1988. Two things happened to the Beach Boys in 1 year, and both of them are about Brian Wilson not being in the room. January. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Waldorf Astoria, inducted the same night as the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and the Supremes. Brian gets up and gives a warm, ordinary thank you. Mike Love interrupts him repeatedly. Then Love takes the microphone, and he goes after Mick Jagger by name, in front of the entire industry. Elton John, who'd just given the induction speech, grabbed the mic afterward and said he was relieved not to have been mentioned. Love later wrote that it was the only time since the early 60s he hadn't meditated before going on stage. Okay, now the second thing. Kokomo came out of a job. The band and Terry Melcher were hired to write something for the movie Cocktail. Love wrote the chorus. John Phillips wrote the verses. Every surviving core member sang on it except Brian. 22 years after Good Vibrations, the Beach Boys had another number one. And here's the twist that nobody sits with long enough. It was the group's first big hit with no involvement from Brian Wilson at all. He didn't write it, didn't play on it, didn't sing a note. At the time, he was under Eugene Landy's supervision, so think about what that year proved. It proved the Beach Boys didn't need him, commercially, chart-wise, on paper. And I'd argue that's the single most damaging thing that ever happened to this band, worse than any lawsuit. 5. The man who wrote himself into the songs. July 1988, Brian Wilson releases his first solo album, and there's a second name all over it. Eugene Landy took writing credit on 5 songs, including Love and Mercy. His girlfriend got credit on 3. Landy was also named executive producer. Read that again, because it's absurd. A psychologist has a co-writing credit on Love and Mercy, and the credits were only the visible part. Landy's fees ran to roughly $430,000 a year, and at one point he held 25% of all of Brian's songwriting royalties, whether or not he'd contributed anything creatively. Brian said around that time that Landy didn't like him being in touch with his family too much, that Landy thought it was unhealthy. That's the whole machine right there in one sentence. Cut the man off from everyone who'd notice. In 1989, facing accusations that ran from gross negligence to sexual misconduct with a patient, Landy surrendered his California license after admitting to a single drug charge involving a patient identified only as BW. The board asked him not to reapply for 2 years. double the normal weight. And here's the part that belongs in a video about betrayal. He didn't go away. Landy kept acting as Brian's business partner for 3 more years. It took the Wilson family filing for an independent conservatorship in 1991 and a court order in 1992 barring Landy from contacting Brian to finally end it. 16 years, that's how long it took. And the Beach Boys were the ones who helped pay him in the first place. The credits came off the album quietly when it was reissued in 2000. 4. Cousin versus Cousin, 1992.
It's where the kids are hip.
Brian is finally free. He's out from under Landy, and he's just won something.
Always take my car 'cause it's never been beat, and we've never missed yet with the girl.
He'd sued A&M over the Sea of Tunes catalog, asking for $100 million in royalties, and the case settled out of court. The suit alleged fraud, misrepresentation, and forgery, that his signature on the original documents was obtained under false pretenses or forged outright, and the second that money existed, Mike Love sued him. Not over the money exactly, over the names on the songs.
It's going steady 'cause it wouldn't be right to leave the best girl home now on Saturday.
Love won retroactive songwriting credit on 35 Beach Boys songs, including I Get Around, and Wilson was ordered to pay him $5 million in lost royalties.
My buddies and me, you're getting real well known.
Now stay with me, because this is the entry where I need you to hold 2 things at once. Love's position was that Murray had left him off the credits, and Brian repeatedly promised to fix it and never did. He said before the trial he was getting about $75,000 a year in songwriter royalties, and afterward it jumped past $1 million. And the reason he won is that Brian testified under oath that Love was, in fact, his frequent writing partner. That's not a technicality. That's the truth coming out. So who got betrayed here? Honestly, I've gone back and forth on this one for years. Mike Love spent 30 years watching his name missing from songs he helped write. That's real.
Always take my car 'cause it's never been beat, and we've never missed yet with the girl.
And Brian Wilson spent 30 years being taken apart by everyone who touched his money, and then got sued by his own cousin the week the settlement cleared.
They leave us alone.
Both of those are true at the same time. That's what makes this band so hard to write about. Love later called the original crediting almost certainly the largest case of fraud in music history. He wasn't talking about a stranger. He was talking about his uncle. 3. The year the glue died. February 6, 1998. Carl Wilson dies of complications from lung cancer in Los Angeles, with his family beside him. He was 51. He'd been diagnosed the year before, and he'd played the entire summer tour anyway. If you saw them in '97, you saw a man going through cancer treatment and still hitting God only knows. He reportedly sat down between songs and stood up to sing. Carl was the glue. He was the band director, the lead guitarist, the co-lead singer, and his death effectively ended the Beach Boys as a single unit. And here's what happened in the months after. Love wrote later that he could have retired or scaled back dramatically, but he wasn't about to, because he'd go crazy sitting around. In 1998, Mike Love became the sole licensee of the Beach Boys name, and that same year, Al Jardine left. 37 years, founding member, sang lead on Help Me Rhonda, Gone. Jardine's version, told to Rolling Stone in 2025, he said Mike was always looking at the next tour while he wanted to go back into the studio, and then, in his words, Mike kicked him out of the band. Carl Wilson was buried in February. By summer, there was a band called the Beach Boys on the road, with one original member in it. If you've ever watched a family divide up what's left before the grief has even settled, you know exactly what that feels like from the outside. And you know there's usually a good legal reason for every single step of it. 2. Suit off your own name. 1999. Al Jardine puts together a band and goes back out. It was him, his two sons, Brian Wilson's two daughters, and Cass Elliott's daughter. He called it the Beach Boys Family and Friends, and that name is what ended him.
All the faces we miss, so let's get back together.
In 2000, a U.S. District Court ruling barred him from touring under it. He was told he could be the Family and Friends Beach Band instead. The Ninth Circuit upheld it. The name belonged to Brother Records, a company jointly held by Jardine himself, Love, Brian Wilson, and Carl's estate. Love was the sole licensee. Think about the geometry of that for a second. He was a part owner of the name he was being sued for using. He countersued for $4 million, alleging he'd been excluded from concerts. That complaint was dismissed. Then Brother Records sued him again in 2003. The courts ruled his damages were too speculative to calculate. He lost and lost and lost. His own account decades later, he said his band sounded better, that Mike came down on him with a pile of lawyers, that he was down about $1 million, and that it was devastating financially and emotionally. He said he was shown no mercy. Love's representative points out that Love never personally sued Jardine. The suits were technically between Jardine and Brother Records, and whether that distinction means anything to you, I'll let you decide. It's a real legal difference. It's also a corporation whose licensee was standing right there. They settled out of court in 2008, 9 years. 1. The press release. 2012, 50th anniversary. And for about 8 months, it actually worked. Brian Wilson, Mike Love, Al Jardine, Bruce Johnston, and David Marks. 50 dates announced, plus a new album. They extended it to 75 shows. The album, That's Why God Made the Radio, went over well. Brian said afterward that the tour blew away every expectation he had, and then it ended by press release. Love announced that the Beach Boys would continue touring without Wilson, Jardine, and Marks. Brian found out and told CNN he was disappointed and couldn't understand why Love didn't want to tour with the three of them, that they were out there having so much fun, and that they were the real Beach Boys. Jardine started a petition to be reinstated. Now, Love's answer, in the Los Angeles Times, was unambiguous. He wrote that he did not fire Brian Wilson, that he cannot fire Brian Wilson, that he isn't his employer and has no such authority. His position was that the exit had always been planned and that the release went out to avoid confusion. He's also, technically, right about the shareholder structure. And Brian's response is the line that ends this whole story. He wrote that, as far as he knew, he couldn't be fired, but that with Mike not wanting or letting Al, David, and him tour with the band, it sort of felt like they were being fired. Sort of feels like. 50 years, and that's where they landed. By the next year, the band was two camps again. Love and Johnston touring as the Beach Boys. Jardine touring with Brian's band. Brian Wilson died on June 11, 2025. He was 82. The funeral was held on August 6th, and it didn't stop there either. Al Jardine told Rolling Stone that at the funeral, Love wanted everyone to know he'd written every word of Good Vibrations, that Jardine was focused on Brian, and Mike was more focused on Mike. Love's representative said that isn't true, and that his focus has always been on lifting up audiences with the music he helped create with his cousin. They were still arguing over the credits at the funeral.